going too fast. I'm taking 3.
I'm going for the singles now.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and we are looking at German and Russian ships today. Yes, in fact, I went a little further today, and I've got some music, so there we go. Start that up. Today's video is going to be a lot longer than my normal videos. Reason for this is I didn't put up a video in the last 2 days, right? I needed to recover after that much drinking. But anyway, we're back. And I've got, what we'll do is we'll look at the first tier, or the tier 1, 2, and 3 of both nations, and then we'll finish off with a tier 6 video here from the Germans. So what we're looking at is we are looking at the tier 1 Russian cruiser. This is the Orlan, I believe it's called. Very surprised with this ship, I was. It's fast, it's maneuverable, and it has decent guns at this tier 1. This tier 1 sort of range or whatever. Tiering, I don't know. My brain is still a little mushy here, but anyway. Really surprised. Like, for example, look, I just got a Citadel hit with these guns. I'm surprised about that. I know it's tier 1, but you know, I'm shooting high explosive in this thing. Anyway, I liked this tier 1 Orlan. I thought this was a great little ship to have. I didn't keep it. I don't keep any of my low tier ships, but at tier 1, you know, I was really actually quite impressed with this ship. Like I say, it's maneuverable, it's fast, and you've got good guns on your ship. I mean, there are things wrong with the guns. Yes, it's tier 1, and they're not as accurate as you might want them to be. They are in a double turret, right? So you've got 4 guns and 2 turrets. But again, I really did enjoy it. In terms of the tier 1 German cruiser, which we'll see here in the next clip, I think I like this one better. I found this one performed better than the German ship. Now, granted, too, I only played like maybe 2 or 3 battles in these tier 1s, so I don't necessarily have the full experience of the tier. And if you guys think differently from what I'm saying, then please let me know. Because like I say, I didn't play these tier 1 ships a whole lot to really understand them. There's something I noticed though. See the ram right there? Yeah, I found a lot of ramming at these early tiers. So that was the Orlan. I did like the Orlan. We are now looking at the tier 1 German cruiser, and of course I've got some music here for us as well, just to introduce the German line, right? Now this cruiser, I like the way it looks. To be honest with you, I find aesthetically, yeah, this looks like an awesome bitchin' little cruiser. The guns on it are really good. I mean, that's no surprise. There were many videos out before the actual release of these ships about how good the guns were on this German cruiser, so that's not a surprise. What you do have to get used to with the Germans now. I'm not, right now with my Germans, I'm only at tier 6, right? So I can't speak a whole lot about the German cruisers because I don't have the full picture. Basically, all I've got are and I don't know what this leg is from, sorry about that, but anyway. I don't know, I don't have the full picture on the German cruisers, right? I can tell you what they're like at the low tiers and basically what they're like at the mid tiers. So that's what I'm referring to. In the later tiers, I have no experience with the Germans, so I'm not going to be discussing later tiers of the Germans. I don't want to speculate on them. And just keep that in mind when I'm describing the German cruisers, right? I'm talking low to mid tiers. I'm not touching the higher tiers. I'm not there yet. Haven't played them myself, so I can't actually comment on them. Anyway, so what I have found with the German cruisers is a few things. One is I really like them. Yes, I'm biased towards the Germans, and that's the main reason why I like them. But I do find that these German cruisers require a lot more skill to play than they do, say, an American cruiser. They're more like a Japanese cruiser, in my opinion, at these mid to low tiers. And the reason for it is they have very little armor. They are very easy to Citadel. There, I get exploded. and you need to learn how to dodge shots. You need to learn how to maneuver. This video here, this is the Tier 2 German cruiser, the Dresden. I really like this cruiser. I think I actually did end up keeping the Dresden, and the only reason, no, I sold it last night. But anyway, I kept it for a little while. The only reason why I kept it was because of the historical significance of this ship. That's the only reason why I wanted to keep it, but I did enjoy it when I had it. So just getting back to some characteristics of German ships here, like I say, they're more or less glass cannons, right? You really gotta watch your incoming fire, because you can get taken out in one salvo. You can get detonated very easily. So you need to keep these things in mind when you're playing these cruisers, and especially once you get to the Tier 5 and the Tier 6 tier. Those ships are very, very squishy, but they have excellent range and excellent guns. So if you can use your range and your guns to your advantage, you will not have problems in those ships, being my experience anyway. So yeah, again, the ramming, right? And I know this time I'm the offender, but it just seems at these low tiers that ramming becomes all too common. But anyway, I did like the Dresden. The Dresden was almost like, it almost felt like a St. Louis, to be totally honest with you. You can see we've got 12 guns in this ship. That's just what it felt like. It definitely doesn't have the armor of a St. Louis, and I know the St. Louis is at Tier 3. We'll talk about Tier 3 momentarily here. But for now, my initial impressions of this ship were, yeah, it felt like a St. Louis. We were, fairly slow. You're still faster than a St. Louis, but not very maneuverable. Good guns, but no real armor to speak of. But I still did enjoy the ship. I thought this was a fun ship to play at this tier. I don't know, I might have only played 2 or 3 battles in it. Because frankly, I really wanted to get to the higher tiers. But the time I did have in the ship, I thought it was great. I didn't really have a whole lot of problems. Now, I was playing with members of the clan yesterday, NGA, Navy Gaming America, that's the name of the clan. You'll also find the clan link in the comments below, so, click on it, be sure to check them out. I did enjoy the ships at these lower tiers. They were interesting to play anyway. The battle we're looking at here did end in victory, surprisingly enough, and the tangent that I was going off of, yes, now that I remember, members of the clan didn't have as good of a time in these ships as I did, and I found it was because they were maybe not playing it as cautiously as they should have. I'm showing this clip here just to remind all of you not to get rid of your commanders. You can see how I'm doing it right here. Move your commanders along, right? Do not get rid of those commanders. Even if they get 1 skill point at the tier 2 or 3 mark and you're just like, well, screw it, I can pay some gold and get some more skill points. Just don't do that. It's a waste. I mean, sure, you can if you want to, alright. But move your commanders along amongst the ships so that by the time you get to like a tier 9 level, you're going to have a level like 14, 15, 16 commander. So move that along. Also, we can see the spooky new port is really cool. Now, this clip that we're looking at, this is the Tier 2 Russian destroyer. I'm not even going to bother to pronounce it. I apologize if that offends anyone, but I can't do it. So, this destroyer I was really surprised with, actually. You can see I launched off 2 torpedo spreads. That's because I only thought the ship had 2 torpedo spreads. Apparently, we've got 3 on this cruiser, yes, or on this destroyer, sorry. But this one, I like this little destroyer. I'm at the Tier 3 Russian destroyer now. You can see I just figured out that I have 3 torpedo tubes, so I launched another spread off. I've got that enemy battleship in my sights. It's a South Carolina. You can see the special camo. That's the Halloween camo he's got on. 100% extra experience, but it costs you 30 gold to mount it. But anyway, I like this destroyer. One thing that we all need to get used to, if you're not already used to it, I know I sure am not, is using the Russian destroyers as gunboats. Your torpedoes right now at the Tier 2 and then the Tier 3 level have a range of 3 kilometers. Yes, 3 kilometers. So, what that means is that your torpedoes essentially become exclusively defensive weapons. Defensive and ambush, yeah, we'll say defensive and ambush, because you should not be positioning yourself in open seas to fire torpedoes at someone that is 3 kilometers away from you in a Russian destroyer. It makes no sense at all. Your Russian destroyer has great range on the guns. The guns do decent damage. I mean, excellent damage per minute if you can keep pounding that same target. More importantly, though, the Russian guns have good range. So what this means is that you will be able to do invisible shooting. Invisible shooting, yes. The term I think was coined by iChase Gaming. But essentially that's what you're going to want to do in these Russian destroyers. You want to keep your distance, you want to fire your guns, you want to remain unseen. The detection range on this ship here I think is about 5.8 kilometers surface detectability, so it's not too bad at all. Here we're just getting some closer shots of this destroyer, you know, while I'm turning around, because it looks cool. I haven't seen it, excuse me, at this point when I was recording, you know, I didn't get a full look of the destroyer, obviously, right? Because I had no idea that there was that third torpedo launcher. It's actually hidden underneath some of the superstructure, and that's why I didn't see it. But anyway, you know, not a bad destroyer. My biggest criticism about the destroyer, the Russian destroyer, is that I only have 3 guns. I really wish I had a 4th gun, or you know, maybe some double turreted guns. But that's me, that's my own personal play style. I don't know what you guys thought of it. I'd like to know how far along you guys are as well, so you know, be sure to leave comments in the video description below, just so we can maybe get a conversation going about the new ships that we have. Everyone loves them. Well, I do anyway, and I can't see why you wouldn't. But anyway, cruising along in this Russian destroyer, you know, I wasn't disappointed. I liked it, even with the 3 kilometer torpedo range. I really found that the guns made up for that. You can see I'm still learning in this clip that I'm showing, right? Like, some of the torpedoes I launch aren't exactly at the range of the torpedoes, because I might have forgotten, or, you know, in my head I'm thinking, oh, it's 6 kilometers, when in fact it's 3. But look at the guns, right? They're great. I've got this other destroyer out there. I think it's another Russian destroyer, in fact. And, you know, just pumping shots into them. Why not? Strafing along, you are fast and maneuverable in these Russian ships, which is very important because you can see the amount of fire that I'm taking right now, right? One thing I did find, and I don't know if it's just because it's at these lower tiers and, you know, armor values involved, but I found this for both nations, is that the ships, excuse me, are incredibly prone to having their engines and steering knocked out. Oh my god, it's fantastic, really. They're just like, and there's one little shot and you are going to lose an engine and you're going to lose your steering. So keep this in mind, and this is the importance of maneuvering your ship, especially when incoming fire comes. I know that it's fairly an oxymoron to say avoid enemy shots, yeah, but really it's what you want to try and do. Now we are in the Tier 3 German cruiser. This is the Kolberg, I believe. Now this ship, I would say, is almost like a St. Louis. I don't want to offend anyone. I know there are a lot of St. Louis fans out there, and I don't want you to quickly jump all over me, you know, Thotgor, you can't do that, but just the sheer amount of guns on this ship. Again, it's 12 guns you've got. You don't have the secondary armament of a St. Louis, and you don't have the armor of a St. Louis. That is for sure. The St. Louis can definitely take more hits than your Kolberg can, but the Kolberg is faster and more maneuverable than the St. Louis. So, if you can manage to use the ship properly, maneuver it around, avoid incoming shots, use cover where possible, and really sort of pick off the weak ones in the enemy fleet, you are going to love this ship. I had a good time in it. I considered keeping it, but again, I didn't. But I found this was a great ship. A few quirks about the ship, I suppose. One thing that I found is, I'm not doing it here because I haven't learnt, but you can see I just queued up my armor piercing, right? So I'm starting to shoot armor piercing at these cruisers. So I found in this ship, when you shoot armor piercing at enemy cruisers that are 10 kilometers or less away from you, you are going to do a whole lot more damage than you would with your high explosive. And this took me a while to get my mind around because it's so counterintuitive, isn't it? At least for me, when I was going through the earlier tiers, way back when the full release took place, I was all about HE spamming. HE spamming in all of these low tier ships. I spammed that HE right up until tier 5. Tier 5 is when I started making use of armor piercing, because finally I had the guns. Now your German cruisers don't have big cannon on them. No, they don't. But they have some great penetration values. Yes. So if you are close in to an enemy cruiser, I would recommend you switch over to your armor piercing and just start laying into them. You will find that you do a lot more damage a lot more quickly than you would spamming that HE at the close ranges. At far ranges, obviously continue to use your HE, but this is just what I found in these ships. Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I don't have it's at tier 3 that I start having more experience in the ships, because it's requiring me more battles to play to get to the next tier, right? That makes sense. But I don't know, this is what I found, and it's what I've noticed, and I thought I'd share it with you guys just to see what you guys thought, and if you did notice the same thing. In fact, in this battle that I'm at right now, you can see we are winning. I have a kill, right? We're about to ram again at this low tier. Ramming is a prereq, apparently. And again, I was probably the offender in that instance, but whatever. This battle was interesting. And I say interesting because it's an early tier battle, and I find at these early tiers, no one really knows what they're doing or what's going on, and this sort of, to put a twist on it, when I was playing, you could tell that you were playing with two different type of people. Maybe yesterday afternoon when I was playing, the first type are those who really just got into World of Warships. They're like, oh man, there's Russian destroyers now, or there's German cruisers now, and I'm going to start playing this game, right? So they've never really played the game before, and they're starting to play, and they're learning everything about the game, so it's fairly easy to get kills on them. The second type of people that are playing are people like myself. People who have been playing this game for a long time now, and know how to play the game effectively, but the ships we're playing in are brand new, and we're trying to test them out. So, it made for interesting battles. It made for situations that you're just not going to see at higher tiers, and funny situations. I had a lot of fun playing in these lower tiers yesterday. I know that especially the first name that comes to mind is Bezzy. Bezzy is a good friend of mine from my old clan, Valkyrie Alliance, and he loves his St. Louis, loves it. And he's the first person I think of when I'm playing these lower tiers, because he was always telling me, Thotgor, I gotta rebuy my St. Louis. We gotta go run our St. Louis's. And I never actually did it. I came really close to doing it, but I never actually did it. And I can just, in these battles, I could just see a grin on Bezzy's face as he jumps into his St. Louis. And I hope, Bezzy, if you're watching, I hope you enjoyed last night in your St. Louis. Anyway, the Kohlberg, I had a good time in it. Like I say, not too many complaints about the ship, other than just the weak armor of it. And I don't know if that's a trait of the Germans as of yet, or if it's just the tiering we're looking at here. Compared to a St. Louis, though, I can definitely say the St. Louis has more armor than my Kohlberg. But the Kohlberg has some quirks to it, right? We talked about the armor piercing on the ship. It's there, and I would recommend using it when you're close in to some enemies. It definitely helps out. You just do a lot more damage. I don't know if you guys found the same thing. I hope so, because I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction. But yeah, it was a good ship. I enjoyed it. I did end up selling it, and I did get into the Tier 4 German cruiser. I'm not actually going to show the Tier 4 German cruiser today. The reason for this is, we'd be looking at an hour-long video. I'm already pushing, I think, 40 minutes or something with today's video, so we will take a look at those at that cruiser as well. My initial impressions of that cruiser actually is I got fed up with it and sold it. Yeah. Victory overall, though, so not too bad. Next clip we're looking at, this is the Tier 3 Russian destroyer. Now this Tier 3 Russian destroyer is similar to the Tier 2 with one major difference. The Tier 2, you get 3 torpedo launchers with 3 torpedo tubes in each, right? So a total of 9 torpedoes that you can put in the water at any one time. This Russian destroyer is a little different. The Dirtsky at Tier 3, you get 5 torpedo launchers of 2 torpedoes each. So you can launch 10 torpedoes in 5 different spreads. Yes. Again, you're at 3-kilometer range, but look at this instance that we're about to play out here in front of us. I'm on big race. I'm going into the little destroyer kill zone over here, and I've got torpedoes ready to go. That's another thing I like about these Russian destroyers at these early tiers, is the torpedoes reload amazingly quick. Anyway, 3-kilometer torpedo range. Here comes some enemies in front of me. So we're going to start launching torpedoes at them, right? Because of the amount of torpedo launchers, though, I can actually launch torpedoes at 2 separate targets at the same time. I can shoot 3 torpedoes, or I can launch 3 torpedo launchers for 6 torpedoes. God, Thotgor, math. Anyway, I can launch 6 torpedoes at one enemy, and I can save the other 2 and launch 4 more torpedoes at another enemy. It makes it really handy when you're in these dire situations that everything's happening so quick, right? And you just want to kill something, or you're just trying to survive. And that's what I really liked about this Russian destroyer. Now, all of that being said, I'm fairly sure that I'm playing the Russian destroyer wrong. The reason why I say that is because I don't think, well, on this map, you can make the argument that, hey, look, Thotgor, you're in this whole destroyer alley place, majigger. It makes sense to be close in, firing torpedoes like this. But keep in mind, with your Russian destroyers, you really do want to focus on the guns. The guns are the main weapon of this destroyer. See, none of these enemies are in my range. I'm getting obliterated by some guy over there. Because I'm too busy trying to line up torpedoes, right? I should be focused using my guns. My guns are my primary armament. That's what I should be using. Fortunately, though, I am in the destroyer alley area here. Look at the broadside of torpedoes you can send, though. Like, it doesn't really matter where the enemy goes, what they try to do. If they are close enough for you to hit them with torpedoes, yeah, you're probably going to get them. That was a nice kill, wasn't it? But I'm on such low health now, right? My engine's gone. This takes it back to the whole just noticing that my engines and my steering get knocked out really, really quickly at these early tiers. Brings it back to that. But, I did have a lot of fun in this destroyer. Currently, I am still in my Tier 3 Dirtsky. I haven't actually moved along to the Tier 4s of yet, and it's because I don't have the experience to do it. I considered buying my way through, actually. But in our next clip, we'll talk about that. So, didn't want to do it the Russians. But we're coming back to the port here again. Spooky new Halloween look in the port. I thought that was cool. Last clip for today, yes. I did buy my way to Tier 6. Yeah, I know. It goes against what I have talked about on the channel. But I'll explain my reasoning behind it, and hopefully it doesn't offend too many people. So, the reasoning behind it is, I did have the Tier 4 German cruiser, and I played it. I played it a lot. If anyone is at the Tier 4 German cruiser right now, I forget what it's called, Karl Schrew or something like that, I didn't like that cruiser at all. It was pretty terrible in my opinion, pretty damn terrible, and I just didn't want to grind through to tier 5. And then once I get to tier 5, I've already played the Konigsberg. I love the Konigsberg, don't get me wrong, that ship is amazing. I'm probably going to keep it, actually. I didn't buy it, I just researched my way through it, but I'm probably going to go back and buy it and keep it to have a tier 5 cruiser to play. Because it's a great ship, wonderful ship. But I already played it, and I really, really wanted to get into a higher tier German cruiser, and I wanted to play a ship that I haven't played before in the German cruisers. And also, I wanted to get out of that whole World War I era of cruisers. Not that I don't enjoy them, it's just, yeah. I really, really wanted to get into these higher tiers, so I jumped my way up to tier 6, the Nuremberg. I was not disappointed. For anyone who hasn't played this tier 6 German cruiser yet, if you currently have your tier 5 German cruiser, or you got to play the tier 5 German cruiser when they were testing it before the release on the 19th of October, you will not be disappointed. This thing is amazing. Right now what we're looking at is the Nuremberg, but this is completely stock, alright? Stock. I've got nothing for it. I just bought my way to the ship, bought the ship. I didn't buy all the modules for it. No, this is stock. So this is your stock range, this is your stock performance, everything. This ship is amazing. I love this ship. It is going to be a keeper for me at tier 6. There's no question about it in my mind. I'm going to compare it to something, and don't freak out, but this ship is like a Cleveland at this tier. Yeah, don't freak out. Don't freak out. I know, one less turret, so 3 less guns on her, right? The Nuremberg is a lot more squishy. A lot more squishy than your Cleveland. Your Cleveland can take shots. Well, can take shots without getting citadelled. It's fairly difficult to get a citadel shot on a Cleveland. On this Nuremberg, not difficult at all. The armor on her is fairly paper thin. And this is what I was talking about and alluding to earlier. The early to mid tiers of these German cruisers, I don't know, right, tier 7, tier 8, tier 9 till 10. Haven't played those, so I have no idea what they're going to be like. But at this tier, these ships are very, very squishy. You can just get destroyed if you're not paying attention. So pay attention, don't show your broadside. Like I'm doing now. Don't do what I'm doing now. There's a Pensacola, but I quickly switch over to the Konigsberg. See him there? Armor piercing is loaded because I'm so close. Look at that, 1 salvo, and he is more or less done. Just quickly reload, put another salvo into him, and he's gone. First kill, fantastic. This is a Pensacola. Pensacola suffers from terrible armor as well, so I immediately start putting armor piercing into that Pensacola. Similar situation in your Nuremberg and your Konigsberg as it is in the Dresden and what was the tier 3? I already forget what it was. Kolberg? Yeah, maybe. Anyway, similar situation. When you're firing at cruisers that are close to 10 kilometers or less, switch to your armor piercing immediately. Anything out beyond that 10 kilometer range, hit them up with high explosive. Now, obviously, that does not apply to destroyers, battleships, or aircraft carriers, right? I specifically said cruisers for a reason. So that is how I would approach cruisers with this ship, with my Konigsberg, and it's how I did approach those cruisers at the lower tiers, tier 2, 3, and 4. Love this ship. I know, I said it a bunch already, but I was so surprised with this ship. I mean, you do get 2 torpedo launchers on each side of your ship. I believe they launch 3 torpedoes each, so that's 6 torpedoes you can pump out on either side of your ship, port, starboard, and the range on them is 6 kilometers, so it's not too bad. You can use them offensively. I don't necessarily recommend it. I would use these torpedoes defensively and for ambushing. But with a 6 kilometer range, you could try and use them offensively if you wanted to. I haven't mastered it as of yet, and it's not something that I'm really going to be doing. Most likely for myself, it's going to be ambushes and defensive for the torpedoes. But anyway, getting back to the ship, I mean, the biggest difference between this ship and the Konigsberg is aesthetically, you can see that the two aft turrets are in alignment, right? They're not off center. And you obviously, because you're at tier 6, you get more hit points, right? So it just makes it that much better. But essentially the ships are really, really similar. They're both agile, they're both maneuverable. Your Nuremberg here has better anti-aircraft armament, obviously, again at tier 6. And it's just all around, a really balanced ship, I find. I know a lot of people are going to have issues with the Germans, and the reason why I know this, or think this anyway, is because I watch YouTube videos as well, right? I watch other YouTubers all the time. Mighty Jingles is one of my favorite. I Chase Gaming is one of my favorite. And in those videos, they did talk about how squishy the German cruisers are, and I fully agree that they are. And then you go into the forums, and people are just raging out at it. To those people, I would simply suggest to calm the hell down, take a minute and breathe, and, Einstein said to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results is insanity. And it is. If you're playing the ship the same way you've played every other ship, and if you're playing the ship the same way you've always played the ship, and you're always getting the same results, you are insane. All right, just try using different strategies with these ships, right? Every nation is going to have one particular aspect about their ships that makes them different from another nation. That is how wargaming is doing this, if you haven't figured it out yet. So don't play the ships the same way you've always done it. Have an open mind about this. Experiment with them, right? Just try that out. Pensacola is back, and he's almost gone. Yes. The Nuremberg, like I say, at these close ranges with armor piercing, it is amazing what these cannons can do. I think that is my 3rd kill. Maybe? Did I kill that Nicholas? I was ranting, so I don't really remember. But anyway. No surprise, though, that you can kill a Pensacola with this thing, because, yeah, you're only a tier below. But the Pensacola has terrible armor anyway. Terrible armor, so... yeah, actually, now that I'm talking about the Pensacola, that brings me... I did want to mention this. Rumble and I were talking... about armor, right, and angling your armor to make best use of it, and we were saying, because these German cruisers have very little armor, and you do have to maneuver, you do have to angle that armor, like he was saying, there could be a salvo incoming, and 100% chance it's going to hit you, but maybe, if you just try to turn your ship port or starboard, maybe those shots, instead of coming in and taking out an engine, doing a citadel shot, doing some bad damage to you, maybe by turning, you'll avoid some of that damage, because you're angling your ship, and the shells will come in on a weird angle, and they might bounce off something, or they might not hit that citadel, or just angle your ship, people. We've talked about it before. I've never done an actual angling armor or angling ship video, whatever we want to call it, but I talk about it all the time, and I find it fairly straightforward. You fire a salvo, you've got incoming salvos coming at you. Turn your bloody ship. Don't leave that broadside wide open. But that's, just something that I wanted to mention. And in a Pensacola, because the armor values are so terrible in that Pensacola, that you have to play your Pensacola by angling your armor. It's the only way you're going to survive, the only way you're going to grind through to that New Orleans. And that is what I'm doing with the German ships, and so you get a lot of practice doing that in your Pensacola. So if you have a Pensacola now and you're fairly decent at it, you're probably going to do pretty well in these German cruisers as well. Took out that Farragut. I was really surprised, or actually really happy that I took out the Farragut. I was surprised that he just popped out of nowhere, because I had no idea who was there. He popped out and I just immediately took him out. This New Mexico, yeah, there he is there. I'm not going to take on the New Mexico myself. I just don't have, the armor to be able to do that. I don't have the hit points to be able to do that. This Nuremberg is an amazing ship, but you must know the limitations of your ship. So, I launched my torpedoes off. You can see it's defensive, basically. You could say it was an ambush, because, coming around that little corner there. But whatever. Torpedoes are on the way to him, and all I want to do is do as much damage as possible to help out the allies who are eventually going to have to take on this guy. It's not going to be me. I just don't want to do it because I don't want to die at this point in the battle. Right, we're winning. We're capping their base. It's not a matter of well, in this battle here, you know, there aren't 3 or 4 cap points, so it's not like he's taking that C cap point, so I don't have to go in there and deal with him. He wants to boat up that channel. Let him boat up the channel. That's what I say. I do have some allies back at my base, but it'll make it a little harder for them, I suppose, and maybe a little selfish on my behalf, but I'm just not willing to sacrifice myself to potentially take down this New Mexico. And to be frank, I don't think that I could do it. Even if I went over there and started harassing him at close ranges and whatnot, I don't think I'm going to be able to kill him given the amount of hit points I have. So I'm using the range of the Nuremberg, and I'm just going to set him on fire. Yep. Just going to do some damage over time to him, make him use his repair abilities, use that repair party, and cool all of it there, and have them all on cooldown, so by the time he gets to my allies over there, you know, he doesn't have those abilities anymore. So he's gone, well, out of my firing range anyway, so he may as well be gone. I did get some nice torpedo hits on him, though. The torpedoes, like I say, this is stock, so those were the stock torpedoes, so they don't do a whole lot of damage as of yet. I think they're 6 kilometers now that I think about it. I'm not sure. These might be the 4-kilometer torpedoes. Who knows? Anyway, we've got this Oba. Yeah, the Oba's coming up. Oh, there we go. The Oba's coming up, and I wanted to kill him, but it was hard because he's at tier 6, same tier as me, but he has a lot. Much better guns than I've got. You could argue that all you want, but in my opinion, the Oba guns are better because they're higher caliber. He doesn't have the rate of fire that I have, and he doesn't have the amount of guns that I have. But with those 8-inchers that he has on that cruiser, you know, one hit from one of those, and I'm done. Yeah. If he's firing armor piercing, if he gets a lucky shot at my citadel, I'm done. Look at the hit points I have, I won't be able to take it. So, keeping my distance from this guy, right? Firing high explosive at him. My armor piercing at these ranges aren't going to be able to do a whole lot to him. So that's why I've got the high explosive loaded. But again, you can see the really nice range on this Nuremberg. Sure, the Oba is going to outrange me in this instance, and it's because you know, it's a stock ship right now. I don't have the extra range on her, but I do have islands. Yes, using islands as cover, fantastic. There goes one of my ally battleships. So you can see it was sort of strategic on my behalf to do this. Not only was I using the island as cover, but my ally battleship is now going to come into the firing line. Hopefully the Oba is going to start focusing that guy, because that's what I want, and that's generally what you would want in this situation as well. Is, you know, if you've got battleships around you, the battleships are there to take hits, not only to do, you know, massive amounts of damage, but they're there to take hits, absorb shots. Use them in that manner. I'm supporting these guys. I'm going to start, you know, pumping more shots into the Oba for them, but I don't want the Oba to shoot at me. The Oba needs to shoot at the battleships in order for me to stay here and to be helpful to the team. Yeah. But that's what we're attempting to do anyway, and it does actually work out quite nice for us. Coming into the cap now, right? So this is where it's going to get maybe a little hairier, because now we're putting pressure on the enemy to come back to their cap and deal with us. Yeah, they can't, you know, they just can't continue to push our base the way they have. You can see that they do have some battleships there on the, what is that, southeast quadrant of the map. Those guys are out positioned now, right? They're just totally out of position. They're not going to be able to accomplish anything. Even if they kill the ally that I have in my base, doesn't matter. They're too slow to actually get there and start capping, to put pressure on us, right? We're already capping their base. We're going to have 3 ships in total into this cap. There's myself. There's this ally battleship I have next to me. Who is decked out in the Halloween camouflage. That poor Oba. And there's another enemy, or sorry, there's another allied battleship who's with me as well. I think it's a New Mexico and a New York I have. I'm not 100% sure on those, but I think that's who I have with me. So there, there's nothing that those battleships over there can do anymore, and now it's just a matter of how much more damage can I do before the battle ends. So the Oba is still over there, and I still want to get him. I want to kill that guy so bad, just to say that I did. I know that the Nuremberg is at the same tier as the Oba, right? We're both tier 6. It's just, for whatever reason, I want to prove to myself that this tier 6 can kill the other tier 6s. And I know that probably sounds stupid, but if you look at the Oba, first of all, like I say, 8-inch cannons on it, right? If you are a good aim, I loved my Oba. I didn't keep the Oba. I probably should have. But if you have a good aim, you are going to destroy people in this Oba. Just destroy them with those cannons. Fortunately, this guy over here doesn't have the best of aim. Your Cleveland has more guns and it's harder to citadel. So it almost seems as though the Cleveland and the Oba would be the better tier 6 ships, but I think you'd be underestimating the power of German cruisers. Because yes, I'm taking shots. You can see I did take a few shots, but again, it's my range and my rate of fire that is really distinguishing amongst this with this Nuremberg. And you would say, well, the rate of fire on the Cleveland is just as good, maybe a little slower, who knows, but yeah, but when you combine rate of fire with the range, because your Cleveland, if you don't have captain abilities, your Cleveland will do about 14 kilometers range. Yeah, this I think stock is at 15 kilometers. I'm not sure. I guess I could have looked it up, but just a longer range than you've got in your Cleveland. And I find, top speed wise, yeah, they're very similar at about 31, 32 knots. But I just find that the Nuremberg is a little more nimbler than my Cleveland. And I think it's because the Nuremberg isn't as long as the Cleveland, so I don't have as much of a turning radius as you would on a Cleveland. Those are my thoughts anyway. Let me know what you guys think. So battle is over. 4 kills, 327,000 credits, 4,600 experience. I'm top of the team overall. No surprise there. I do end up walking away with quite a bit of money and some good experience. And like I say, this is the stock Nuremberg. I don't have anything for it. And it's just, all that experience I'm going to use up on modules. So that'll just about do it for us today. Longer video than normal, I know, but like I say, the last 2 days I didn't get a video up. I was drunk. So thank you very much for taking the time watching the video through. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them. Be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Hit the old like button, and as well subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you so much for watching the video through today, and as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.